Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the School Committee of North Andover for Thursday, February 15th, 2024, regular session. And please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if we could just remain standing for one moment, I'd just like to have a moment of silence for one of our, a former student of the North Andover Public Schools and 18 to 22 graduate, passed away recently, a terrific kid, Andrew Rollins, and just honor him here. Okay.
Thank you. And I want to thank the high school and our wonderful art department and everything for inviting us to be here tonight and in this incredible room that I remember my kids took art classes here in this very room, and they probably did something like that great spread in front of us. It looks pretty real from here. All right. I'd like to invite public comment if there is any. Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on. Do we have any recognition tonight other than? No, we have no recognition tonight. So we'll move to the consent items. We have the minutes from last meeting.
I'll move to approve the minutes of February 1st, 2024.
Okay, the motion's been made.
Second.
And seconded. Shall we vote? Mr. McDevitt?
Aye.
Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Ms. Petrowski?
Yes.
Ms. Koenig?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, they're approved. Next, we have our student representative report, and tonight we have the triumvirate here: Ben Abbott, Christina, Cece Choi, and Harper Barrios. All yours. I guess we'll start with Ben.
Hello, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Ben. I'm a senior at the high school. The MASC, or the Massachusetts Association of Student Councils, which is the statewide student council organization, is hosting their overnight conference later this March. All three of us are attending, and we're very excited. The senior scholarship system is underway. There's about $250,000 of scholarship. Every senior is encouraged to apply through the guidance department. The math team held a competition at North Andover High School last Thursday. They did very well. And spring sports are almost here. Meetings have been going on throughout the past 2 weeks, and winter sports are nearing playoffs as they wrap up their seasons.
Hi, I'm Cece. Good evening, guys. So the past week, Student Council had our annual Valentine's Day fundraiser. So we were selling candygrams as well as roses. Roses were $3, candy was $2, and you were able to deliver it to a friend during their 6th period class. Super cute. Oh yeah, this Tuesday we had a snow day. Thank you guys so much. It was, I looked outside when I woke up that morning and I was like, where's the snow? But you know what? There was no school, so I wasn't complaining. It was
Snow day ever.
seriously. Didn't have to shovel, just got to, hang out, get some stuff done. And last week, the Environmental Club, they had a fundraiser to help. It was a bake sale to help endangered animals. So that's all.
Hello, I'm Harper. The juniors are already getting excited about the Ireland field trip next year, and current French students are also talking about their trip to the French Riviera next spring. Both are 9-day trips that students are already very excited for. Tomorrow is the Valentine's Day Coffee House, and the choir is getting ready for their competition in New York. And Beauty and the Beast is happening very, very soon. We just finished our first tech week with tech crew and costumes coming in. And our second tech week will be after break, and then the shows will happen on March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Should I introduce bathrooms? Last week we talked a little bit about the new bathroom policy, and this week we were asked to go a little bit more in depth about that and cover more of that. So I'll start by going over what the policy was before and then what the policy is now. Bathrooms before were either in the academic wings, the gym, and the art wings, with also the nurse open. And there were no teachers posted outside. Passes were technically required, but it wasn't very strictly enforced. and vandalism, vaping, and fights were common. Currently, central gym and art wing bathrooms, as well as the gender-neutral bathrooms and the nurse bathrooms are open. Teachers are posted outside every bathroom, and the door is open to all bathrooms. Passes are needed, and teachers monitor the bathrooms and have students sign in and out. And teachers are supposed to call administration if they need to, if something happens.
The high school student council has been hosting a kind of an open dialogue since these new guidelines and rules have kind of come into play. We had a much deeper conversation this past week in preparation for this report. Some of the initial reactions, first I'll go over kind of the cons and then the pros. The open door, so the doors are left open now so the teachers can hear or see if anything is going on inside the bathroom. That's been a significant issue for a lot of students. There's a lack of privacy. Teachers and passing students can see into the bathrooms and typically hear what's going on inside the bathrooms. There's seems to be unclear guidance for teachers about how passes are written, how passes are issued, how many passes should be issued, and then what teachers should do or what teachers' responsibilities are if they witness or hear something happening. Passes have also been seen to take away from class time. Teachers are reluctant to issue passes because of this, and it makes it difficult for students to ask for passes, and sometimes embarrassing. Unattended bathrooms. Teachers are designated to go to the bathrooms based on building responsibilities, and when teachers are absent, sometimes the bathrooms can be left unattended and are thus locked, so students will have to walk far distances and take away from class time. A lot of the issues that Harper talked about have been affected. Fighting, vandalism have certainly gone down with these new rules, but others are still pretty prevalent. And a lot of students are feeling that with less bathrooms open, the issues are more concentrated into the couple bathrooms that are open. Passing periods, the time in between classes, teachers are either leaving their duties, so going back to their classes, or leaving for their duties, going from their classes to the bathrooms, and that usually leaves the bathrooms either locked or unattended, and that has been a problem for a lot of the issues that Harper talked about, like the vandalism, the vaping, and the fighting. And generally, I think students kind of feel that they're being punished for something a minority of students are doing. I think that happens with a lot of these types of rules, so in a lot of ways, it's something unavoidable. The pros, like I said, vandalism and fighting have become less common. The bathrooms have been seen to be cleaner. That was a big issue, at least that I saw a lot, that bathrooms were very, students would vandalize or leave trash or leave different things. But now I think it's better with this teachers being there and kind of being able to hear and see what's happening. And we also just want to say that this is a 2-week-old system since the semester changed. So there's still a lot of things that will be worked out and need to be worked out, and that administration is working on with student council, and the students are giving feedback. So there's a lot that's bound to change, and a lot, I think, student opinions will probably change as well.
And while we came here with a lot of pros and cons that Ben mentioned, we didn't want to come here and just sit and complain about the new policy. At our past student council meeting, we did try and discuss if there were certain solutions we could come up to the problems we faced. So one thing we talked about at the meeting was a new pass system. Someone mentioned that another school has an online pass system where you can get a bathroom pass on your Chromebook, and this will help stop that disruption in class, because not only is it disrupting your learning time, it's disrupting the whole class's learning time for making a teacher write a pass, and it will still give the school the documentation that this person went to the bathroom at this time. So what we're looking to get out of a new policy is we're trying to focus on something that could just be more effective. I feel like this policy is very time consuming, especially with writing all the passes, and the council thought maybe we shouldn't focus on all of these issues like vandalism, vaping, fighting all at once, because these issues are inevitable, they are going to happen, but maybe facing them all at once isn't the right approach. Maybe we should try and tackle one by one slowly, because it is a process. And there's always going to be students who will vape and stuff, so it's just, I mean, I'm not saying it's okay, but like, it's like we should be focusing on what we can do at first, so we can slowly, like, yeah, so we can slowly get better, because it's not going to, yeah, it's like not gonna happen at once. And maybe we were talking about possibly limiting how many people are allowed in the bathroom at once. So maybe, yes, everyone who goes to the bathroom needs a pass, but maybe there should be like a 2-person something limit in the bathroom at once, and there could be like a line waiting outside. Just so if there are big groups of kids vaping in the bathroom, well, like, I mean, only 2 people are allowed to be in the bathroom at once. And also that could help maybe stop some of the creeps in the bathroom. And I just want to mention that Student Council is willing to work on these underlying issues and work with administration to build a community and focus on all these issues like respect, responsibility, addiction, behavior, and relationships with staff and administration, not just this year, but moving forward next year too. We are very open to working on building all of these things up. Thank you.
You made me very nervous about the snow storm. They said a foot the other day. A foot. A foot of snow, and now we got none. So I'm a little nervous because they're saying 2 inches tonight. 1 to 2 inches. So if they're saying 1 to 2 inches,
It could be 40.
it could be 40. Anyways.
I really doubt it. I think we're going to be all right. Do we, anyone have any questions for the student reps?
I have a couple of questions.
Please.
Well, and actually a couple of comments. I really appreciated your insight and your thought. Like as you were telling us the pros and the cons, my first question was, I would love to know what your ideas are for solutions, and then you shared them. So thank you. Good job. And I appreciate all of your insight because you guys are the ones that are in this, doing this. My school actually has electronic passes, and they do, they form a line. So if I go to I have to create the pass for my students, and if I create it and there's a line, I have to tell them there's a line. They can go wait in the line. And it is really good data tracking. So I think that's a really great solution. It's not the answer, right? Because we need to work on healthy lifestyles and making good choices. That's the underlying cause for all of this. But I really love that you guys really dove deep in there. And I'd love to hear more of your suggestions and ideas because I think we have so much to learn from who this is directly affecting, and I think the staff as well too, right? Like you said, the transition time in between changing classes, getting to duties, getting to the bathroom yourself if you need it, if you're running in between. There's a lot of moving parts. So the more feedback we can get, I think is better. So thank you so much for all of this. It's great.
Anything, Melissa? Nope. Okay. You guys?
I do. Do you want to go first?
You can go.
So one, thank you. I'd actually reached out to you guys and kind of suggested that this would be a good thing. I was kind of hearing a little bit of it at my house and then through some friends and some neighbors as well. So thank you for taking time with the student council and kind of addressing this and kind of coming up, as Ms. Petrowski said, ideas and suggestions, right? Understanding some of the pros and the cons. Definitely good. Love hearing, just we're willing to work and kind of figure out kind of where we go next with this. So I guess my biggest question is, as members of the student council, did you know that this change was happening, or did you kind of come back and it was like, okay, guys, all right, it's semester 2 or semester 3, I guess, right? Semester, new semester, these are the new rules, and it was like a surprise, or was it, hey guys, this is coming?
We, at least student council, knew because Mr. Meehan, after having a staff meeting about the new policy, felt it was important to at least let student council know. And then several teachers did, like when the new rules started, did talk about it. But I think a lot of students found out that first day of the semester, if not like maybe a day or two before.
Okay, that's kind of what I heard in my house, but, so, thank you.
I have a couple things to say. Thank you so much. We're so lucky to have three very eloquent and capable student reps come share lots of information with us, so thank you. I love hearing about all the things that are happening in the schools, and that's so important, so keep doing that, but I feel like I want to hear more of these types of things. We don't get to come to the building to see all of the ways that students are experiencing life in high school, so we have to rely upon you. So do more of this, please. This is very helpful to us to understand what's happening in our schools. I feel like bathrooms are an age-old question in high school about what's going to happen if it's not vaping. I mean, I never went to the bathroom in high school because my mom would yell at me because I smelled like smoke when I got home. It's a thing that happens, and we're always challenged with it, and I still think there's ways for us to think about how do we make this a safe place for kids to be and to feel comfortable going to the bathroom. So that doesn't leave, and I thank you for you engaging and helping us understand through you and vis-a-vis the student council. I also want to say thank you very much for our Vanderpump-esque invitations to the anyone who watched old school Real Housewives will know that. This is fantastic. I promise when I come, I will not sing along. I'll do my best I'll sit in the way back and sing along so that I don't disrupt the performers, but I'm very excited for this year's musical. So yeah, that's all I got.
All right. I just wanted to add one thing. I do also appreciate the honest and feedback, and probably not easy for you guys to give it. So kudos to you for that. I'd actually like to hear more about that topic from our administration, if you had it in a second. But to me, and I agree with Mr. Hicks, and I'm older than him, and it was a problem for me too. It's always been that way, and but I think that the best way to deal with it is to get to the root causes, which I think somebody mentioned already. That's really the solution. Treating Band-Aiding the problem is not the best solution. Finding out what's causing it would be good. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. I mean, is it getting worse? Is it, over your period, especially Ben, because you've been there the longest, right? Or CC, are you a senior also? I forget. Junior. So, I mean, do you see it trending the wrong way, the right way? What is your observation?
I mean, I think during COVID, the bathroom policy was actually very similar, that there was teachers posted outside, and there's only one student allowed in at a time because of COVID. So for my first 2 years, and I guess for their first year, it wasn't that bad, but I think, I guess a lot of the lax rules during COVID kind of continued on after all those regulations ended. And I think over the last 2 years, it has gotten worse. I think one thing that we talked about in preparing for this meeting were possible speakers to be brought in to talk about, namely addiction, and that kind of stuff. So, and I don't know if CC has this.
One thing that I think that is really something impacting our school community is actually the community at our high school. I feel like as each year passes, our school community with students gets weaker and weaker, and I feel like there's just been a less sense of community, especially thinking about how these new freshmen were in 5th grade when COVID started, So them going through COVID during their middle school years, and this year it's been a lot, and I feel like the sense of community at our school has definitely dwindled a bit. I feel like it's definitely a lot of people clashing, not really coming together as a school. And I feel like that's just something that I can feel like is an underlying problem that can connect to the bathrooms in a way, especially with the fights happening. So I do feel like having a speaker or having a school assembly where maybe it's more interactive for students to really connect with each other more would be really helpful.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think it has, for me at least, the vaping problem, I feel like over the past couple of years has gone worse from our freshman year, where it had that COVID policy where only a couple people were allowed in the bathroom, or one or whatever it was, to the increase in the past 2 years. I think it's tough because I think a lot of people, I feel like finding a speaker that would be engaging, I think would definitely help, because I know some people check out when a speaker isn't engaging to the class and some of that, and I know we have I think, a speaker coming in the next couple weeks to help work on some of that community and well-being stuff with our class.
All right, well, thanks, that's good. And I think, Bill, you're on the right track, I think, with building a sense of community, maybe even going beyond just a speaker, but working on that as kind of a root cause. I like that. I have to say, I love this too. But when I opened it up, I thought, wait a minute, is it Wonka? It's a golden ticket. So, good luck on...
Beast yellow, Mr. Brown.
Yes, oh, well, I'm a little color challenged, I guess, yeah. But anyway, thank you very much for that. And I don't know, Dr. Gilligan, if we could, obviously not prepared today maybe, but if we could get some more information on this next meeting?
Typically, this is a challenge everywhere. So I think, typically we have Cheryl Bazak in. She'll talk about where we are in terms of longitudinal data, the youth risk behavior survey. This is I think Joe said it, this is an ongoing challenge, right? And when we talk about whether it's students, adults addicted to nicotine, very, very powerful, right? Very, very powerful. I'd be happy to have our health folks in, our high school folks in, whoever. I mean, it's an ongoing challenge. It's not going away. It's in schools that face this challenge everywhere. And really, it's about, I think the education piece, I think Cheryl would say, has made a difference in those numbers. But it's still, this is a big high school. It's a big community. And the more we can intervene and help kids not get addicted to nicotine at this age is significant over the course of their lives, in the money that they will spend and on the impact on their health. So, yep.
Yes.
I just want to mention that at the BRC meeting today, the Building Respectful Communities meeting that's on town and school, the liaison from the Parent Resource Network was on, and she spoke about vaping and addiction. And the Parent Resource Network has partnered with the Youth Center, and they are having a presenter, hopefully in mid-March, to talk about vaping. They have shared some for parents, from resources to see what vapes can look like, highlighters. It's not what you're maybe expecting. So they have a very robust Facebook page for parents, and we certainly can make that information available as well.
Thank you. All right, guys, well, thanks. Please.
Just one more comment, sorry, that just came to me. I think you all highlighted another really important idea, is that how students found out about the policy wasn't perhaps clear enough for everybody with advance warning. I'm not sure. But I also think things sometimes work better when these types of changes can be initiated through students versus being done to students. So I think that certainly helps with buy-in and making sure that the students have agency over what their community is going to look like too.
Agreed, for sure. All right, everybody good? All right, thank you very much, appreciate it. And as always, I always say the same thing, you're welcome to stay, understand if you don't. Thanks for your report. All right, next we have the superintendent's report.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I got to tell you, I love this setup. I did walk in really hungry. I missed dinner. I missed lunch today. I had breakfast. But I saw this food, and I could smell it, and I think it was the pizza out back. But there was a disconnect that was so lifelike. So Tony Delmonico, I'm thrilled to have him. I hired Tony a long time ago when I was a high school vice principal. We stole him from Bradford Elementary, from the Haverhill Public Schools. And Mr. Delmonico was surprised that I even remembered Mr. Clark, a North Andover resident who was the vice principal at that school, giving a glowing recommendation on Mr. Delmonico. So we're thrilled to be here tonight. I just want to draw your attention to a couple items, and we're going to turn it over to Tony. While he's setting up, I know that he's got the wheel deals here. I'm going to let him do the jokes. But Acceleration Academy, superintendent's report. So Acceleration Academy, we continue to get the grant through the Commonwealth and DESC. And so will be taking place again next week. Mathematics Acceleration Academy. I'm always surprised that we get that kind of money coming in. And that's an excellent opportunity. Some of our staff will be working over the week, and our students will be participating in that. Superintendent's mid-cycle, and I'm trying to time this up with Mr. Delmonico, because it looks like he's got a few things going there. But this is informational only. And really, it's been a year where there's a lot happening. And whether it's the middle school addition, I cannot believe the middle school addition every time I drive by, 26,000 square feet. We continue to make the milestones for the Kittredge School with the 50.1% reimbursement in the MSBA project. And as you can look through here, I've listed out our goals, some highlights for the year in the cover sheet. And then really I just take a look when you get a chance, some of the mid-cycle evidence that I've provided. So when we talk about strengthening consistent and rigorous curriculum, some of the mid-cycle evidence is around particularly the wit and wisdom grades K to 5 implementation. Really exciting. When we get to the superintendent's goals on the next page, and we talk about a support to social justice and equity. There's a lot of mid-cycle evidence listed there, so I encourage you when you get a chance to take a look at it. We'll be going over all this at the end of the year. There'll be even more linked. But I think that there's a couple things that are exciting there. One is the FY25 budget. We have 2 reviews going on right now in terms of the special education review. We have an equity audit that's town-wide and school-wide. And, in a very tight year next year, budget-wise, I think to set aside money as part of a multi-phase, multi-year plan to take steps next year around some of those recommendations from those reviews are important. And I think one of the other components, too, is about really access to making all, a North End of education accessible to our families. And so the strangest thing happened. Last week, 2 weeks ago, after we had Joe Hicks here from the school committee and I were up there with doing the translation machine, WBZ Radio came by. Like they kind of just showed up. And we did a little thing with them, and it's only like a 15-second clip. So I linked that tonight. That has somehow, it's on Twitter and a few places. But now we're starting to get calls from like Europe. We got 2 calls today from, like one was from Wisconsin, one was from somewhere else. So it's just funny how people see stuff in that news. And I think that's another example of things like access. And then I want to draw your attention to the next page here. As we continue to, there's a section here on, as we continue to build, as I continue to build my skills and develop our leadership team, what am I doing for my own personal growth? And so you'll see an example there from ELG, and that's an executive leadership group. And I've included one of the sessions, so you'll see an example there for your review. And then last but not least, school committee goal, which it clearly says here, not part of the superintendent's evaluation. It is for the school committee, but I did work with Mr. Brown talking about, some of the mid-cycle evidence, and it's the board participation, the community chats, the nightly news. So they're there. Again, this is an informational time of year. There is quite a bit there that's linked. And, if you have any questions on it and you get a chance to check it out, this is really just a brief update. But if you have anything that comes up, let me know. And we'll be back at the end of the year with all of the information for the end of the year summative. All right?
I have a quick question or two, if I may, and then others may. Just quick. I'm curious about the in-person English classes for the parents.
Yeah.
Well attended?
It's well attended. I'm looking at our librarians because we have our librarians that are going to be part of our report tonight. I see a school librarian here, and I see the director of the Stevens Memorial Library. So that is a course, as we mentioned at the beginning of the year, that we're running. It's at the Stevens Memorial Library, and it's adult English education for some of our parents. And we've had up to, I think, as many as 15 people present. So really exciting.
I I happened to hear the WBZ spot the night it aired. I just happened to be listening, so I was like, whoa, that caught my ear in North Andover. The NSRF on your personal goals, what's that acronym?
That's just an example of some of the best practices. I love to talk. I could talk forever. So that's an example of bringing best practices. That stands for the National School Reform Group. And that link will take you to over 200 protocols, A to Z, from consultancy protocols to how you work with teams. And we use them all the time for all of our meetings. It helps me stay on track. Just an example.
Okay. Anyone else have any quick questions from quick overview?
How big was the grant for the Acceleration Academy this time?
I believe it was $288,000.
Thank you.
And the state pays a set rate for our teachers. And it's great. I mean, it's the same rate for everyone everywhere, typically across the Commonwealth. But it's hard to get teachers to come in and teach those days, particularly after COVID hit.
Yep.
We're excited.
Okay. I think we're on to our...
We're on to the main
Gallery
show.
walk,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. We are ready, Mr. Delmonico, and I apologize for the delay.
No, they're keeping me like crazy busy over here.
Folks, so for those at home who may have just tuned in, we're at North Andover High School. I'm going to turn it over to Tony Delmonico, high school faculty and staff member here in the art department. We're in his room, 1223 here at North Andover High School, holding the meeting. And Mr. Delmonico, are you mic'd up? Or do you need a mic over there?
Momentarily. Sorry, Brian. I might get clear in the mic.
All right, Mr. Delmonico. So one of the things that we talked about is, and I can let you explain it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. What are we doing here tonight?
What are we doing here? Are you sure?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh my gosh. Everyone heard him, right? What are we doing here? These are examples from last semester's Ceramics 2 class. A very unique environment because, as we kind of heard from the students tonight, half of these students were in the COVID era of Ceramics 1, which, as we all know, was not here and was not the traditional method. So those students were at home sculpting independently, doing so with a kind of loose structure of drawing out the artist within, right? Because if they can't be here and they can't work collaboratively and enjoy that social element of it, then they might as well try and dig in, find themselves a little bit. So the challenge I had with this year of Ceramics 2 was that half those kids were from that era and half were from just the usual fare Ceramics 1 class, hand building exercises, functional objects. So the entire semester was based on one single project. And they had to think of someone, real or fictional, who inspired them. Think about that person's relationship with food and their own personal relationship with food. You know, we all have a relationship with food. I'm Italian American, so I know how I like my sauce. And apparently I make the best meatballs in the family now. So, I mean, our relationship with food is really kind of a glimpse into the relationship we have with ourselves, our culture, our family. And it's a great device to kind of break down those initial social awkward moments, post-COVID classroom setting, right? So they chose their person. They described their 4-course meal and how the food related to them. They had to sculpt the food, so they're thinking about form, texture, and then lastly color. These are all painted with acrylic paint, much easier to handle than glaze. So they learned color theory through that. And then they had to make the dinnerware piece, which they could design on the potter's wheel, like these folks are demonstrating back here. or they could use hand-building methods. So it was a la carte, forgive my pun. And I think the piece that I really am going to go home and treasure most about this was how much I got to know these kids during this, because I can look at this and know that he was watching SpongeBob when this was inspired. The Little Mermaid, Grandma's house up in Maine every summer. Kate, who's right here, whose aunt and uncle own Fat Cats in Amesbury. That's a plug, and you definitely should take advantage of it. A fantastic restaurant. I know the stories behind all of these, and I got to know those kids on a really deep, rich level. And so I'm going to keep doing this. There's no question of that. But it was a lot of fun. They had to write artist statements, too. We basically took those initial writings that they had, and I kind of backdoor tricked them into an essay. And the last kind of conclusion that they had to make up was really tying the experience with this person, the food, the memories associated with it, to themselves and how they've kind of grown as an individual from it. So I wish even one of them could have been here tonight to talk about, but their schedules are insane, as most of you up there know. So, and this is a bit surreal because that's my desk right there. But if you have any questions, yeah, please let me know.
How many students are represented by this work here?
So that's what the utensils are for. So
Oh,
they
okay.
kind of count out how many student projects are represented here. This is not, sadly, all of them. I couldn't fit all of them up here, but this is about at least 60% of 2 classes. I had 2 ceramics 2 classes this year.
Anyone have any other questions, comments?
Years ago, there used to be display cases, and I feel like some of these would be amazing to have showcased out there. Is that?
The problem with the cases
Okay.
is we've got one wide enough one to fit most ceramic ware that we have. The nurse's office case is a little smaller, so ceramics 1 work can fit in there. I was talking to Dr. Gilligan. I'd love to display these in town.
Yeah.
You know, these are students who live here, and with their permission, of course, I think I'd love to share this with the rest of the community.
Yeah, they're amazing. Dr. Gilligan kind of said it, but I walked in and I was like, oh my God, I didn't know we were having dinner. I mean, and then I was like, everything's, yeah,
I
it's
had the same reaction. I
fantastic.
thought it was real too until I got close. It definitely
I
did.
wonder if you could spread them out somewhere, if like our small businesses and merchants association would have like a little display for our student work. Be kind of cool.
Great
That would be
minds must
great.
think alike. I was talking to Tony last night, Mr. Delmonico, and I said, this is going to be a good night for this, because we have some
Microphone.
Stevens Memorial Library here tonight, and that would be a great spot.
Perfect.
I also said,
Microphone.
Oh, sorry.
oh, I thought you had the mic. Okay.
You go.
So we have the library, I think would be a great spot. But I think if we ask places like Stachy's, I mean, there's a lot of places where we could display this, where people would be genuinely interested. So
That's awesome.
a lot of opportunity.
Nice. Thanks, guys.
I'll tell you, one of your graduates is resumed her artwork career part-time.
Love
And
to hear that.
yeah, and has been sending us gifts the last several holidays, and she got her start right here. So I want you to feel
fantastic.
good about the fact that your work is continuing on.
I really appreciate that. Always
Yeah.
love to hear that. And I don't want to miss the awesome students I got behind here. And so Kate, again, she was in that Ceramics 2 class, and she's continuing as a independent study in Ceramics 1 right now. And the other 4 students here are all members of the Ceramics 1 class. many of whom studied at Essex Art Center before this, right? So they had their introduction at the Essex Art Center on wheel throwing, and just love that they could be here tonight and show you all what they can do.
Is wheel throwing part of the Ceramics 1 curriculum?
Sadly, it typically isn't. It really just comes down to numbers.
So when do they get to learn that amazing
So I always,
artistry?
well, in this case, this is my only Ceramics 1 class in this semester, so they are basically my only child, so to speak, and they're getting the red carpet treatment. They've already had the experience with it, so I'm always encouraged to see students who are comfortable with it jump on in a Ceramics 1 environment so that they can let the other students see firsthand, hey, this is accessible. I can actually do this. Andrew's son knows that firsthand. He's been remarkable at not just his own skills, but at encouraging his fellow peers to give it a shot. So this is a kind of rare occurrence to see this many students in Ceramics 1 on the wheel, but given we've got 5, I typically don't tie it to that curriculum because it is very challenging despite how they're making it look. But as I said, it's kind of integrated into that too as an option.
Great. I commend you too. I didn't get a chance to read all of them, but I was glancing at the essay work. That's really creative of you to tie the two things together. I like that.
It worked perfectly,
Yeah.
and you know, as an artist myself, like you can't look past the importance of believing in what you're doing, and you take a whole semester and say you're doing one project. That's a little bit of a shock. So you got to make sure that they really truly believe and have experienced it, and all of that comes back into the classroom, and it just enriches all of us and the whole environment. It's great. Thanks for
Fantastic.
noticing that.
Great. Any more comments or questions? We have happy students over there, I take it? Everybody's good?
Anyone want to talk?
Take a look a little closer
Yeah.
at the work they're doing over here in the wheels. You could do a correct perusal. But like Mr. Delmonico,
Yes.
what I was wondering is, I almost thought we were at a cooking show briefly. But from there
Yep.
to,
He'll never listen.
from here, I guess here's the question I have, is from from taking it from there and then putting it in the kiln, like what's the process? Like how long would it take for this to become the final product?
Okay, so the first thing is you've got to make sure that you're building it correctly. You know, this clay will explode in the kiln if it's not built right, if it's too thick, if there's air bubbles inside of it. So they have to know the technique firsthand. Once they got that down, the work has to dry. This generally takes a week to 2 weeks, depending on how large the piece is. It's 24 hours in the kiln. It comes out of the kiln. We call that a bisque fire. So it's essentially like a piece of stone at that point. It'll never return to clay again. They then glaze it in the case of the dinnerware pieces, which is essentially like a liquid glass that is then returned to the kiln, heated up to a hotter temperature, around 1800 and change, and then you can actually functionally use it. So these kids can, when we're done displaying the work, they can actually take the dinnerware home and use it.
Got it. Yeah, I was almost picturing like a cooking show where you were going to be, you're going to say, okay, we're coming off the wheel here, and here it goes into the kiln, and then you had a second kiln, and you have the finished product coming out.
Well, we'll have to have a guest host one day. Please, anytime you want to come by and mirror that, that'd be awesome.
Do you want to introduce these folks at all before?
We've got Kate, Sydney,
So who?
and Maya. And they're all 11 and 12th graders.
Okay, great.
We're not using that
And just for the folks at home, can you just, what's your first name and what grade are you in?
I'm Kate, and I'm in 10th grade.
I'm Sydney. I'm in 11th grade.
I'm Brianna, and I'm junior.
I'm Delaney. I'm a junior.
I'm Maya. I'm a junior.
Awesome. And this was quite a feat, Mr. Delmonico, getting these guys here with, I guess I didn't realize how dirty you get, like, doing this, because I did volunteer Mr. Hickson. That's not a joke. At the agenda meeting the other day, Dave, didn't I say that?
I'll probably have it, like, splash across the room.
But these guys have saved you. Well, we appreciate having students out. I mean, it's 7:45 on a school night, right before vacation. But you guys came out to really kind of show this off, and it means a lot to this. I know the school committee and to me as superintendent and my team. And you got a great leader here in Mr. Delmonico, and we're thrilled to be able to showcase some of this. So, all right, I'm going to give the mic back and go sit down.
To me? Oh, no.
Do these need to be fired afterwards? Where's the kiln?
Yes. So 2 kilns in the back. One's brand new. Thank you very much. Yeah, so they'll need to dry. Well, actually, they'll need to do a tricky step called trimming it next, which is when the potter inverts the piece, recenters it on the wheel, packs clay around it to kind of hold it in place, and then uses a carving tool to carve the inside of the piece out. If you go home tonight and you look under any mug, bowl, plate, you will see a lip, and that's the foot. So they'll have to carve that out. The piece will have to dry. If you have a piece like Kate's here, where you've got this like neck thing out.
You throw a cylinder, and then I like to let it plastic wrap so it doesn't get stuck in there. Yeah. And then flip it upside down into the cylinder, and the cylinder is centered naturally, and this is upside down inside. And when it's tight and stuck in there nice, you can just trim the bottom, and once it's done, you just take it out of the cylinder and recycle the other clay.
She nailed it. She nailed it.
Excellent. Well, I don't know, I see 5 very engaged and happy students, which is terrific.
That went from like Poland, and now it's like grades.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, to be honest.
Neither do we. Sometimes discovery is the best way of learning, right?
I think I need to
Exactly.
Do not.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Very dirty, however.
So, Mr. Delmonico, big thanks. Really appreciate it. And you guys can keep, plugging away over there. Had a chance to introduce them. But I am going to move along in the superintendent's report to stay on track, because I think we're somewhat on track. And I have Ms. Lathrop, our assistant superintendent for teaching and learning, is going to introduce a couple of our librarians here tonight. So I'm pleased to have Courtney Ahern here from the North Andover Public Schools. She's a librarian. I remember hiring Courtney a long time ago. And Kathleen Keenan is the executive director of the Stevens Memorial Library here in the town of North Andover. And I just have to say that, if you need something done, you want to partner with somebody, Kathleen Keenan has been a tremendous partner to the North Andover Public Schools, to myself as superintendent, our team, our schools. And I think North Andover is lucky to have her here, along with folks like Courtney in the school system. So we're going to talk about North Andover Reads. I'm going to turn it over to Pam Lathrop.
Thank you. Is this microphone working? Yeah, great. I do want to just take a minute to pop back to the Accelerated Academy for a second and thank Kara Larkham, who's our director, our STEM director, for writing that grant every year to DESE. We actually got the grant for both February and April vacation, and it's going to service our students from grades 3 through 10. And interestingly, the students after every academy take a survey, sort of asking how it went. And they always say they'll recommend it to a friend. And they clearly must be recommending it to a friend because our participation has gone up about 20 students in both the elementary and the middle school for this coming February. So we're really excited about that. And Principal O'Loughlin will oversee the elementary, and Principal Gonzalez will oversee the middle school and high school students.
It's a little, I don't know about you guys, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
I know, it's hard with the table like this.
No, I understand that. So maybe if you could speak a little louder.
Okay.
It's how many students? I couldn't catch the number.
So with this coming February, we have 85 students in grades 3 through 5 and 55 students in grades 6 through 10. So it's about 20 more in each area.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Thanks.
welcome. All right, and tonight we're so fortunate to have, as Dr. Gilligan said, Kathleen Keenan from Stevens Memorial Library. She's the library director, and Courtney Hearn, who is our library media specialist at the Sargent School and helps to oversee our library group here in the elementary. And they every year work together to do a community reads project. They're here to talk to us about that. And we also want to thank the North Andover Cultural Council, who granted us a grant that's going to help us provide a keepsake for the students after participating in North Andover Reads. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
Thank you very much for having us. We are just going to talk a little bit about not only the history of North Andover Reads, but this year's theme. So a good teacher never comes without a plan for the day. So we're going to talk about introductions, a little bit of history behind the North Andover Reads. Oh, thank you. North Andover Reads history, this year's theme, highlighted titles and events, and just feature some photos. The elementary schools have been very active with promoting this project, and there's more to come. So this is great. So we've already been introduced. I'm Courtney Hearn, lead library media specialist for the elementary schools.
Kathleen Keenan, the library director at Stevens.
And Meg Rivera is the lead elementary art teacher. She wasn't able to be with us today, but she is an integral part of bringing this project to the community by working with the other art teachers and creating some of the beautiful art from our students that gets displayed at the Stevens Library. So couldn't do it without her. So North Andover Reads, it's a townwide initiative that was begun in 2015, my very first year in North Andover, by Kathleen Keenan, former Superintendent Jen Price, and former Assistant Superintendent Lorene Marks, conceived of as a way of fostering community and connecting residents through literature. Our very first year, we had Jacqueline Woodson as our speaker, and it was unbelievable. And since then, we've been able to highlight lots of amazing authors, some of whom are featured up here. But we've also tried to make sure that we have community events that reach out to all ages. So there are events for adults hosted by the Stevens Library. The elementary schools always do special events and special lessons in the elementary schools. Then the middle school and high school librarians work together to make sure that books that are being highlighted are shown about in the schools. So, do you have anything to add there?
Courtney does a great job. I'm just going to sit here.
It's a repressed theater kid background, you know. So this year's theme is North Andover Reads 2024, The Other Road, Moving Toward a Greener Earth. Do you want to talk about how that came to be?
One of the things, am I close enough for that, Brian? Every year when we get started for this, we start polling all the librarians. So I will tell you, last week I was at something called the Massachusetts Library Legislative Breakfast, where I met the state senators' representatives, where I met our state senators' representatives and the representatives themselves. And we talk about what we need in our libraries, and the conversation is what we need in our school libraries as well as our state, in our public libraries across the state. And I will tell you that Dr. Gilligan, I was bragging and telling the commissioner for the Board of Library Commissioners, if she wants to show a town that knows what to do with libraries and librarians and school librarians, she needs to come visit North Andover. I came in 2008, and we had a librarian in the middle school and the high school, and today we have...
please don't make me do the math immediately. We have so many. We have about 5 elementary school librarians and then middle school and high school. So.
And in the same time, the town has been very supportive in growing the number of librarians at the public library as well. So each year we've started with just a handful of people, like in 2015, and said, what do we think we want to do for community read? And each year it's even more exciting for me because I have more librarians to contact. So this year it's like, what do we think we want to do? And people kind of threw out ideas and then suddenly said, why don't we talk again about how we go forward positively? Each year when we do this, we look for a way to relate to the RAISE values, to the RAISE initiative. And it's like, we talk about the trash and how bad it is. You hear people talk about the Pacific trash dump. And it's like, well, let's talk about the positive side, the things that we already know to do, the things where we can show examples of people who are doing good things. And it was really delightful to go out and find a lot of children's picture books. We found a great teen graphic novel that are talking about the positive ways people are doing it. So I'm always looking for the cup is half full as opposed to the cup is half empty. I think if you can start from a place that's positive, it just sets everybody off feeling good about what they're doing, what they're able to do. And for us, it's easier to approach the children because they're in classrooms, but we try to get the parents engaged too. So this year, one of our really incredible things, and I will tell you that the partnerships with the schools has been one of the highlights of my working here in North Andover. Every year, I find more partners. As people retire or move on, the next group in, Jen Price left, Gilly became a great partner. Lorene Marks retired, Pam's here. The partnership just keeps going. So we do a bingo sheet for the children, which is, 5 across. Do 5 activities, they can earn a prize. And so one of the elementary librarians last week wrote and said, could we get them in something besides English? So I wrote to Pam Lathrop, and I wrote to Kristen Ando, so I'm going to get the right Kristen there, and said, is there any chance for another language? 30 minutes later, thanks to the fantastic new WBZ highlight printer, we now have the bingo sheets in Spanish, Portuguese, Haitian Creole. And the children are finishing the bingo sheets, sending them back into their school libraries. They're sending them to us. So in less than 6 or 7 days, we've had more than 200 elementary school students turn in their bingo sheets. They're doing things. Even if it's just reading the bingo sheet, it's engagement with literature. It's that literacy. We tease and joke with the kids that they can turn the movies on and they can read the movie, put on those captions. You can listen to a book, you're going to get an audio book. Today we're fortunate we have things like Overdrive and Tumble Books that lets the kids do things online. They were incredibly valuable during COVID when we couldn't get the materials to them. So that's my rave about the partners, my partners here.
So just to head back, so we have some highlighted titles and events that have been happening. Harlem Grown was read to every single elementary school student over the past few weeks. It is the true story of Tony Hillary, who created a community garden in his neighborhood in Harlem. Team Trash is the graphic novel that Kathleen mentioned. It's being highlighted with the 5th graders as well as the middle school and high school students. It's a really great, very accessible time traveler's guide to sustainability. And then the adult title that we're trying to get every adult to read in North Andover is Our Livable World by Mark Schaus. We've also had some amazing events going on. The plant swap already happened, so I'm very sorry to report that we're too late for that, but it was incredible. It was, all ages. And then for kids, there have been lots of different events. There's a movie coming up, or a movie day on our early release day, and then a tween recycled art program, which actually leads me to talk about the partnership we did with the art classes. I'm not sure if this will be in here, but we've had lots of amazing art being done. Yeah, here we go. So Meg and the team of the elementary school librarians, art teachers, have been putting together recycled art created by all of the classes in all of the schools, and this gorgeous art will be put on display at the Stevens Library, possibly starting next week.
Yes, we're hoping.
We're hoping. So this is just one way to kind of bring that joy of learning, joy of recycling to the community, so that's really great. Like Kathleen said, we have our bingo sheets. Students have been encouraged to write poetry, so we've been getting lots of poetry submissions that relate to our theme. The younger students have been working on community gardens inspired by Harlem Grown. And then again, we've just been highlighting all of those events at Stevens. So there's really been a great sort of meshing between what's happening at Stevens and what's happening at the schools. We're trying to kind of bridge any gaps of accessibility. Kids that aren't able to go to Stevens, we try to highlight things that are happening and make sure that they're aware, families are aware, and that we keep that collaboration going. So yeah, it's going great. We love it.
One of the really nice things is once the children get their art up, they're used to having their art displayed in school where their classmates see it. When it comes over for an exhibit at Stevens, they're coming in with their families, and for many of these children, it's like they were being hanging something at the Museum of Fine Arts. It's like, Mom, I've got an exhibit, we've got to go. And you get them in there, and they're standing next to their art, and Mom's whipped out the cell phone, or whoever's, sometimes it's Dad that's with them, or Grammy or Grampy, and they've got the cell phone out, and they're taking pictures. So our teacher for Brad Street was in this evening. She'll be back tomorrow with the first art, and she told me that they've created what she's calling the Instagram background. So all of the children at Brad Street have been told they must come to the library, stand in front of their art piece, take a picture, but they better be holding a book they read when they take that picture. For us, that concept that books are everywhere, that reading is everywhere, that literacy is everywhere, that it's just something that happens naturally all the time. Tonight when I heard the art teacher talking about how he snuck the essay in, and I'm like, I love it. My favorite were the math teachers who would be like, let's go let's find a mathematician that you really liked and let's write about him. This interdisciplinary approach is what cements in the brain that learning, living is totally interconnected. It's not like I just do math or I just do music or I just do this thing. It's that my life is very widely spread across all spectrums. And I see us doing that, really encouraging it with our kids in our schools. I see it all the time. Again, the art teacher tonight, I just love that example. I snuck in that essay.
And I would say, library media specialist, I just appreciate your can-do attitude. I mean, so when I hired Courtney, I said, Courtney, you're sure you want to take this job? You are the elementary librarian for all of the elementary schools, all 5 of them. It goes to show, though, when you have a vision and you want to put something together, you might not happen everything overnight, but from where Courtney started when she started here in North Andover, she was the first elementary librarian hired in probably 15 years, I'd say. And to see where we are now, it's just really impressive, and I appreciate all the great work you do. And if you need anything besides, whether it's library books or passes, Kathleen Keenan is the go-to person. In the newsletter that came out today, there is a section, I don't know if I called it staycation or, it's under the superintendent, under my little section, but it has, it has free things to do next week for families in Massachusetts from the government. It has free and cool things from the Stevens Memorial Library, including some passes and things you can sign out. And then it has one section that might be things that might cost a little, or if people are feeling adventurous, maybe beyond Greater Boston. But really awesome job, folks.
It's easy to do these things in a town that's so supportive of libraries and collaboration. I think the fact that we've been able to grow our library media program at the schools exponentially over the last, 9 years. And North Andover Reads being one of those things that we've carried over. It's great. And I look forward to all the things we'll do in the future.
I'm part of a second grader who came home with her bingo sheet, and I love how that really incorporates getting the families involved. We were able to read over it and think about the things we could repurpose, the things we could donate, and the fact that it's now offered in a variety of languages where more families can really get involved in helping their child's education and reading experience is really wonderful. So this is amazing. Thank you.
You can go.
Love the books that you all chose. Are they available at the library? Like, we have multiple copies? Are they?
So the Stevens Library very generously purchased titles of all of the highlighted books for each of our elementary schools. So there's
Lovely.
at least 2 copies of each of the highlighted books in our elementary schools as well as the middle school and high school. We obviously don't have the adult books, but on the entire book list of highlighted titles, some of which are at the libraries and some of which are at the Stevens Library, can be found on the Stevens Library website. There's actually a column on the right-hand side that says North Andover Reads 2024, and you can find the whole book list, and we've been telling the kids about that. But and the library has multiple copies of the highlighted books as well.
And when we get them, we getting like hard copies and they're available through Overdrive?
They're ready to go. They're in the libraries, or at least the school library copies. Most of them are hardcover, with the exception of Team Trash, which comes as a paperback, but it's a library bound.
Are we getting electronic copies too, so people can listen to them if they want, or?
Electronic copies is always a challenge for us. One of the things that I explain to people, we license copies of them, and since all of those books are from commercial publishers, they have a really strong profit margin attitude, if you will. And so sometimes it's a challenge. One of the things that we look for are books that we can negotiate sometimes a deal with the publishers. So for the adult title, Livable World, the publisher was really generous. We were able to license 100 copies to be simultaneously read, which is almost unheard of for the next 5 or 6 weeks.
3, 4.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
They're real stingy.
Profit margins. I explain to people all the time, it might be digital, but it doesn't mean unlimited access for everybody all at the same time. It's like paperback or physical books. Sometimes you have to wait.
To be fair, the authors want to get some
Well, and
compensation too, right? I mean,
I have to say, I've had people who are authors tell me they don't actually get that big a cut. And I think sometimes I hear that from artists working through galleries as well. So it's a challenge for us. We try to have multiple copies. What I will say is that we're incredibly lucky in Massachusetts. We're really lucky in Merrimack Valley. So if you don't have a public library card at the Stevens, you should have one. That library card gets you access to all of the materials in 36 libraries immediately around you. And because Massachusetts supports its public library system, you're able to use that library card or to connect your library card to the other 6 networks in the state, which means there are 365 public libraries where you can go in and use materials. The really best part is you can go online and you can reserve those materials. They will be shipped here to North Andover. You pick them up at Stevens. When you're done, you bring them back to Stevens. We ship them back. All of that is free. So we only maybe have 3 or 4 copies of something, but there might be 35 other libraries that have copies. Right. So we're trying to pull those in. We always look for the electronic copies for the titles we pick. We particularly, for the adult title, try to find that electronic one. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
So I would just say, so far, this may be the best meeting I've been in years. From the student work, I mean, if it were real, it would be even better. But I love to see this, and I love the partnership that the Stevens Library has with the schools and the school librarians. And I was thinking back, my oldest is a sophomore in college now, and when he started in kindergarten, the libraries were closed, literally closed rooms in our elementary schools, which is unfathomable. And we went to, I don't even know what it was called, but basically parent-run libraries. And so you would kind of just show up and you were nothing, it was a great thing, I'm not minimizing it, but you were nothing more than someone checking in and checking out. And then, when Ms. Ahern came in, we started with not just the books that were there, but the media and learning how to use them and everything else that is part of a library, which I think is absolutely amazing. And to kind of see where we are today and the involvement with this stuff, I think is just fantastic. So I kind of have 2 questions. One, I think it was maybe second grade, but all of the students used to go and actually visit the library and get a library card. Are we still doing that?
So not formally and not specifically for second grade, but we've developed over the years a really great relationship with the children's librarians at Stevens. So the school librarians try to coordinate between the Stevens Library and different classes to be able to schedule field trips either at the beginning of the year or the end of the year. So for example, at Sargent, we don't always have a field trip directly to the Stevens Library, but we will bring in the Stevens Library librarians from the elementary or from the children's room, and they do presentations at the end of the year. Okay. We talked a little bit about our bingo sheets, kind of addressing the fact that there might be a threshold here if we had the kids fill out the bingo sheets, but then they had to take them to the library. Well, that's not, we can't guarantee that every child will be able to go, so we've developed it where they can turn in their bingo sheets either at the Stevens Library or through the schools. The children's librarians have also been working with us on maybe sending along some library card info sheets or the thing that you write it and you apply. You're applying for your application.
Yes, registration form. That's
registration
right.
card. So making sure that there's no kid that is going under the radar that doesn't have a library card.
That's great. And then my second question is, I feel like I'm pretty involved in kind of following town websites and certainly the schools. But there were some things that were here that I've completely missed. So I guess it's a two-part question. One, where is kind of this information? Is it on the, I know it's on the library website, but how else can we help make the community aware of all of the amazing things? Because when I started, I talked about the library was just giving out books, and now we've got a plant thing going on there too. I would have been there. So I just think that there's so many great things that you do, and how do we perhaps help push that information?
So on the library website, I had Dr. Mealy bring up the library's main webpage, and in the upper right-hand corner is the icon that says North Andover Reads. Pretty easy to catch. It's the graphic there. And in there are a series of tabs. Each one will take you to different things. One of them is the events. We are now connected through if you go to the town website, and there's a section where you can click on Be Connected for information, and you can get agendas of the meetings. If you go to the bottom, there's a place that you can now click on, and you can get online news from Stevens. So
amazing.
Each time we have an event, we create a flyer, and like these, and if you're signed up on that news site, then these flyers show up magically in your email box.
That's awesome. I didn't know that link was there, so.
Yep.
Awesome, thank you.
So on the library's website itself, we have an event calendar. So if you go to the library website, you click on the calendar. You can pull it up by the day, by the week, by the month, or look a couple months ahead. Dr. Gilligan has been super supportive. Every month in his newsletter, we have an article. Typically, we have some links in there, but always trying to encourage people to come back. I tell people the starting point is the library website. As much as we can get information there, we do. But then also we are, working with the town news channels now, so things should show up on the town Facebook page, town Twitter. We have a Facebook page, a Twitter site. The hardest thing about getting the news out is people get their news in different ways.
Yeah.
And all of us get way too many things to read.
Right.
So part of, this is to get, find a site that kind of works for you and stick to that one regularly for which way you can. And word of mouth, we're constantly telling people, if you came and you had a good time, tell somebody else. That just works. I loved hearing the story about your second grader today. I just really enjoy hearing that. I will tell you some of my absolute favorite stories. The first year we did the first community read, and we had Jacqueline Woodson, and Laura Harrington, who was the high school librarian at the time, called me up almost in tears. She said, so the book we did was called Brown Girl Dreaming. And she said for the first time she had a student of color come in and say to her, do you know, I saw me on the book. She said she could see what this meant to that child. It was just extraordinary that would happen. And each year I hear these kind of stories. So a couple years ago our focus was first neighbors, still neighbors, and we were focusing on the fact that there were people here who were our neighbors when we first arrived from the other shores. And Ellen Roosh, who's the middle school librarian, called me and she said, I had a child come in and tell me it's the first time they had seen a book that was about their culture. And it was a Native American child who goes to middle school. You know, these are the children who are not feeling like they have a lot of other people like themselves here. So each time we read even one child like that, it makes an impression. If you walk away feeling good about yourself, it lasts a long time.
Thank you.
Can I just add one thing, just a form of reference for you that you may or may not know, but for people to know. But so I just searched one of your books. There's a site called Bookshare. You talked about audiobooks, but Bookshare is a site that offers ebooks, accessible books for students with disabilities, whether it be print or reading, or so for instance, Team Trash is one of the books available. So I don't know if you use this as a reference when you're searching your books, books for students that can be accessible, but they have like 1 million books in there. So for people to know, and I will remind our teachers when they're going to library that this is also an option for our students when they are accessing these awesome materials that you guys put together.
One thing that is very, very recent, as of like last Friday, is we are now subscribed, the elementary schools are subscribed to Sora, which is sort of a branch of Libby, which is an underthing of Overdrive. It's a long story of saying that now every elementary school child, as well as the middle school and high school, they've already been a part of Sora, but now every student in North Andover has access to an online library that has audiobooks as well as books in other languages. So I hadn't ever actually heard of the source you mentioned, but we're going to try to push that out as well and make sure that kids know reading with your ears totally still counts, as well as reading with your eyes, and however we access those titles is valid no matter what.
Yeah, and I'll definitely, like I said, I'll make the connection for people too. So it's like, again, as things come in, there's so many resources. So.
All right, I'm going to put a plug in for the interlibrary loan system, which I personally used a bunch of times, and so has my family. It's really powerful, and if you're looking for something and it might not be that common, lo and behold, you have access to 365 other libraries, you're probably going to find it. So that's a really terrific resource people should be aware of. And I have to also plug the museum passes and all that stuff. People don't even realize it's there, and it's really quite a nice feature of the library. So.
And I will say thank you to the Friends of the Library. So if you see their semi-annual book sales, they make between $5,000-$7,000, depends on the season, in their book sales. All of that money goes either to the museum passes, which get you in either free or for a discount, but they're always free from us, so there's no cost when you're using it through the library. And then the other part of their money is what pays for all the summer programs. So you're seeing us bringing in speakers. It pays for us to have a movie license for the year so we can, pick movies from Disney and several other studios and, run a free afternoon or evening movie. And, there are lots of people who don't go away during school vacation, or it's a half day for school. There can be something over there for us. And I'm pleased to say we were short librarians for a while. We have just recently hired a brand new head of youth services. We have a new children's librarian, and we already had a really fantastic teen librarian. So we have 3 librarians who are full-time dedicated to looking at really birth to 12th grade, and, we'll talk to the guy who's in college, too. Part of what we talk about is that, reading comprehension isn't by a number. It's not by a grade. It's, come in and find somebody to talk to, and we'll try to find something that interests you. And we're always telling the kids, you don't have to read a whole book. Get a magazine, get a newspaper. Be engaged with words, even audio words, like music or languages. If you get out on the website, you'll see that there's a database we subscribe to called Universal Class, where there's all kinds of stuff like, do you want to go take the basic accounting course, or do you need to do a business plan? But there's also transparent language, which lets you, go and practice your languages. So we look for things like electronic resources that support the curriculum. So every student has a library card, has access to what we're doing here in North Andover. And with that public library card, they also get to the resources that are paid for by the state of Massachusetts. So we're an incredibly rich resource in this town. And I'm pleased to say so many people take advantage of it, but we would love to be so busy we run off our feet.
Extra question. I know, I think it was maybe last spring, Community Programs was going to do a program where after school on, I think it was Fridays, a group of students would walk to the library and be able to spend the afternoon there as an extracurricular activity type thing. And the program ended up getting canceled because there wasn't enough interest. Do you know if there's talk about any correlation with the library of that happening again and maybe retrying to boot that for students maybe after school who are in aftercare can then spend that time in the library?
We haven't been approached to do anything like that. I'm always open to ideas, and I'll tell people if I can find a way to say yes, I will. There's nothing that cements our community better than finding ways to bring us together at different types of events. So as Dr. Gilligan said, ask Kathleen. Sometimes I can't do it, but I might send you in another direction. We're very fortunate. We have an incredible youth department. We have an incredible senior center, and the youth center is one of my favorites because they have 2 student programs. One is for boys and one is for girls, and they bring them out to do community service. But was it last year or the year before perhaps, Ellen Roosh put together a group of students who came over, and the students were there to read to younger children. The little kids love to have, I had a 5th grader read to me. I had a 7th grader. It's amazing how much they relate to it. We're in the process of trying to get another program restarted, which is a therapy reading dog, where the children come in and read to the dog. In just all kinds of ways and varieties. Public libraries have changed so much from when I was a child, because I'm probably the oldest person in the room, and probably even changed from when some of you were children. And it's going to keep happening. That's the value here in North Andover, is the town is supportive of growing with however the community grows, with how the world is growing. If you think about, I actually saw a promotional video for why you should support public libraries from 1961. There wasn't a computer in the place. Interlibrary alone was a cardboard box tied up with string on a dolly, and I'm like, oh my God, it goes out in a van, and I made that reservation with a computer system. And sometimes it's like from my phone. I mean, look at your phone. How powerful is that computer sitting in your phone today? We have the benefits here, and as Courtney talked about, trying to make sure it's accessible to everybody, wherever they are in the community, whichever school they're in, whatever their family circumstances. Now, that's where the translation part I was so happy when I was like, we have it all. I already have people asking me, it's like, how did that much of that print? Other town departments, because of course I have told everybody in the past week how fantastic you all are. And they're like, we should find out where they got it and how much it costs. Maybe we need one for the town departments to use. And I was like, I'm okay, I can just ask Pam to use hers. But I would love to see us able to do more and more like that. The English class for parents and caregivers on Monday night, it's not a huge attendance, but I usually stick my head in Monday night. I see the same faces there week after week, and they are very happy to be there. We're working with the same company, and on Tuesday evenings, they're doing a virtual class, and it's basic English. So some of the parents who are going to the class on Monday night really needed even more English than what they could get there. So this year we partnered up. The Board of Trustees for the library was very generous and funded that program. We get a lot of support from lots of different places in this community. It's a very rich community when it comes to libraries and learning and librarians. My 3 L's.
Thank you for all that you do. I think the library is like the one of the first places I stopped in when my family moved here about 16 years ago, and my kids who are now a junior in college and a senior here, I think still have the same library cards. They were able to write their names, and they were mad at me all through middle school that they still had the same library cards because they were embarrassed about how their name looked. And I was like, no, that's precious. You're keeping it. And so it's just, yeah, I know. They're on the lanyards hanging at the back door, so if they ever need them, they can just grab them and go. So thank you for all that you do to support literacy and all of the community building in our community. We're very, very fortunate. And I got all the warm, fuzzy feelings tonight, so I appreciate that.
It was a great night to come, because I have to tell you, the central office is nice, but it doesn't compare to this.
Agreed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You guys. Very nice. Great presentation. Really appreciate it.
All right.
I think you wrapped up?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I don't think anyone will complain about going over on the superintendent's report tonight. And I'm going to turn it over. That wraps it up for the superintendent's report. We're a little bit over time.
All right, well,
I'll turn it over to the chair.
I'll be fairly quick. Just a couple of items. Our equity audit, the townwide equity audit, is in process, and I think almost all of us have already or are about to be interviewed. And I believe the results of that come out in June. So we'll look forward to that. We will be having the results of the special education review being presented to us either the 7th of March, which is our next meeting, or the 21st. I don't think we don't have a resolution on that yet, no.
Not the 7th.
Okay, I'm sorry?
It won't be the 7th, it'll be the 21st.
It'll be the 21st? Okay. Great, thank you. And then I just want to remind everybody, we have a community chat coming up, and I appreciate that Ms. Koenig and Ms. Petrowski will be covering that for us. Thank you.
At the library.
It's at the library. Yeah, they're out of the room, but yeah, I'll be at the library from 12:30 to 2 on Saturday, March 2nd. And actually, that's my report. So with any questions? No? All right, yes?
Yes, Dr. Gilligan, can we, I know we'll have the presentation on the 21st. Can we make sure that the committee members get that report a few days in advance so we can read it in advance and be ready to hear and listen and ask questions?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
I'll let Marcy speak to it a
yes.
little bit.
So their process, so I met with them not last Friday, the Friday before, and this past Monday, and their process is to release the report to the public, to everybody at that same day at school committee. So they've asked for an allotment of 2 hours to go over the report and have plenty of times for questions and answers. And then we've talked about they'll do a follow-up question and answer with the CPAC. But their process is not to release any information until it's released to everybody publicly.
So we don't get a pre-read?
No pre-read.
So are they presenting it
At school
2
committee.
hours at that meeting?
Yep.
Okay.
At the March 21st meeting?
Yep.
Great.
And is that solid? We can count on that? Pretty solid?
All but one confirmation, so pretty solid. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So that's hot off the presses. I wasn't even aware of that, Ms. Bacuzzi. So the 21st.
I'm sorry, I met with them Monday. That was this past Monday.
The 21st, right?
Yep.
All right, great. Any other questions or comments for that? Chair's report? All right, let's get some updates on the school building committees. First, middle school, Mr. Hicks?
Yeah, this is the exciting part. I feel like you had a long time looking at a big pit of dirt, and then you sort of see some stuff happen, and now it's like building. So here we have the structural steel. They continue the detail work on the roof deck. They've welded the roof deck on. They're framing the inside for the classroom walls. They're framing the exterior walls, and they're putting up sheathing and windows, or you can start to see emerge. So it's really, really nice. We talked a little bit this past week at the committee meeting about we got small credit back for a fire shutter that is no longer needed, but we're going to have to turn around and spend that credit back on a fire shutter that is needed. But it just goes to show that we are continually thinking about making sure that our students in the building is safe and done properly. They're starting to do the groundwork for the initial plumbing and electrical work, and that's really, really exciting. So lots are happening. In the next few weeks, you'll see this big, empty shell become a building with walls, and that's great. And I ask every time we have a meeting, we are on schedule.
It's actually cool at night when you drive by.
You can see it sort of lit up.
Yeah. It makes it really cool.
And so we are on schedule for occupancy in mid-August, in time to load in and have it ready for use in September for the school year.
That's so cool.
It's great.
All right, thank you. And then any updates on Kittredge?
Yeah, I'll do the first half, and then I'm going to lean on Dr. Mealy here. So the the submission for designs and proposals was, I think, the 31st of the month. We had 3 that came in. So we met, and we part of the process with the Massachusetts School Building Association is whether or not we wanted to expand that for additional submissions, which would basically open it up for rebidding. After some pretty good collaboration with company that we're using, and internally, we're going to continue with the 3 that we have. We didn't want to potentially have a delay of the project, and based on the feedback that we got from a number of the companies who had kind of done a walkthrough and then decided not to submit, which is, again, part of the process, was really that, they were already doing an MSBA program, a build. They looked at the project, and the timeline didn't kind of fit what they were going to be able to staff and support. Those are kind of some of the biggest reasons that were there. They met this afternoon to kind of just go over those in a little bit more detail. I had a work conflict and was not able to attend, but Dr. Mealy did. So how'd that go? Breaking news.
Yes. We got confirmation from MSBA that we can proceed with the 3 that we received. They are all 3 reputable with excellent references. So we will go forward with the selection committee, and that'll be 2 meetings, February 27th and March 15th, I think it is, during which we will pick one of the firms. And today's meeting was to get feedback from the school building committee members as to, because there are only 3 of us, myself, Rich Cushing, and Lori Burzlaff, who are, I say Lori, I think it is Lori, who are part of that selection committee. So we got feedback from all the other members, what they want us to focus on and pay attention to. What we will do the first meeting will in all likelihood be the approval to move forward with all 3 to interview them at the second meeting, and then at the end of that meeting we will select a design firm. So not as exciting as welding steel, but getting a design firm on board is very exciting.
All right. Any questions? Okay, thank you, both of you. There is no old business, as far as I'm aware. So we have new business, the Massachusetts DESC Tiered Focus Monitoring Review Update.
Yeah, I would like to turn that over to,
So on January 26th, the department uploaded, I wish I was, you want to triple check something before you say something. Of course, I was going to look in our security portal, which is currently down, but I did double check it with Cindy Parent, so I'm fairly confident about what I'm going to say. So we got the essentially draft findings from Tiered Focus Monitoring. Similarly, they released the report publicly. That we don't necessarily see it beforehand. I don't have the exact date of that, but we had until this past Friday, February 9th, to submit any comments based on their kind of draft findings. Based on what I could see from those findings, there were no findings in terms of what we had uploaded. And again, this is policy procedures. It was the majority of it was on civil rights, some special education aspects. But again, policy procedures, our structures here. So no findings in terms of that I could see. But again, that report will be, it's 90 days post whenever they were here. So we expect that will be published. DESE publishes and sends it out. So it'll be in the next couple weeks.
So, I'm sorry, over the next couple of weeks?
Next couple weeks, yeah. Yep.
so for those at home, tiered focus monitoring used to be called CPR.
Now it's just called monitoring.
Coordinated program review. There's 3 areas always. It's special education, multilingual, MLs, multilingual learners, and civil rights. Yeah. And so, Marcy, we put this on, did I hear you correctly? You said that they were going to have a portal open up today with a draft, but it was down?
No, the portal, it went up, the draft came out, the draft findings came out on January 26th. I just went to go double check what I was about to say, that there were no findings, because I looked at it a few weeks ago, and it's down. But like I said, Cindy Parent looked at it with me, so I'm confident that what I'm saying is correct. So, that there were no findings, so good news.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions on that? Anybody? Nope. Okay.
Sorry. So once the final report is is done, you'll come back and share with us what they've said, and we'll
Yeah,
be able to read the whole thing?
Yeah, it's
if we are so inclined?
Yeah, same thing. They'll upload it in security portal. They post it publicly through DESE on the Department of Education site, and then we'll post it on the special education page too.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other? All right, public comment? Yeah.
Laura Warren, 129 Wayland Circle. Tonight was a great meeting. This was all very fantastic. But a quick question about the special education audit. So does that mean that the district has not had any access to any information regarding that special education audit? You won't get any information until the 21st?
So I met with them, in terms of like information sharing, but we met 2 Fridays ago and this past Monday with the admin team to go over essentially all the data that they had collected and to make sure that essentially all the questions that we outlined that we all shared the outline for our submittal to them was covered in what they were going to be reporting back. So once we checked essentially that box, then they're ready to put together the report.
Okay, and so the report won't be shared with the district till the 21st?
I mean, I don't know the exact date that I'll get it. I didn't ask that question, but I assume we will get it and send it to school committee that day.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. With that, I would, go ahead.
When we have it on the 21st, I very much want to invite the CPAC to come and be here to hear that presentation.
And they are, we're going to have a separate meeting with CPAC for them to, because then we will have time to review it, so there will be question and answers at that CPAC meeting too.
And what will happen if we have questions?
We can do them that day too, but I'm just saying there will be, after people have time to absorb, we'll have another meeting.
All right, so the sound in here is really weird. So I'm sorry, I'm
No,
having
sorry.
trouble hearing you. So yes, absolutely, we want to invite CPAC to hear that. But what did you say that there'll be a separate? I just got the date today that Right.
I was going to go to school committee, and so following that meeting, after it will be released, we're going to set up another meeting for the same crew, the same Arizona State collaborative people to come to present or answer questions to the CPAC at a CPAC meeting.
At a CPAC meeting.
Yep.
And then so we'll have the opportunity, the school committee will have the opportunity to ask questions that night.
Yep.
If we have further questions, is there a mechanism for that?
I mean, suppose we can ask them to come back. I think they're obviously not located here, so they're coming in person on the 21st. So I'm sure that if there are things left undone that day, that we can have a conversation with them about next steps.
Okay, all right. And again, to reiterate, we absolutely encourage CPAC to come on the 21st, now that we know it's the 21st. All right, anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to also say thank you to NACAM for making this work here, because it's not a usual place, and there's a lot of setup that goes into this, so thank you very much for doing that for us. Really appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely. All right, if there are any other comments, if not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion's made, seconded. Mr.
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt? Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Ms. Koenig?
Yes.
And Ms. Piotrowski?
Yes.
And I vote yes, meeting is adjourned. It is 8:39.